Welcome to Content with Character, the weekly podcast that'll give you the momentum you need to create content with more ease, clarity, and laughter. I'm your host, content copywriter Emily Aborn, and I'm all about unconventional marketing approaches. I believe in your big ideas, and I'm excited to help you share them in a way that's distinctly you. Hello, welcome back. If you celebrate holidays of any kind around this time, I hope that you had a super happy, maybe relaxed, cozy, and fun holiday. I was so excited for this year's laid back and chill holiday, and I do plan to keep that vibe going throughout the week. I have a pretty light schedule this week. I'm wrapping up. Yes, more wrapping. And I'm preparing for kind of like what is to come in the new year. And I will say, I had the recent realization that 2024 is the first time in a long time that I've been this excited for a new year. I think it's because this was a really big year for me. It was a really big year of letting go, getting really clear. So like getting clarity, also removing things that I think have just like held me back for a long, long time. Things I was just doing because I thought I needed to do them. And that relates to life, business, like all the places. So on that note, that's kind of what we're in for in this episode today. I'm hoping to keep it short and sweet. But I really want to encourage you that it is okay and we can do it together to let go of some of the things that might be holding us back in content creation, in marketing, and getting our message out there. Now, I say it could be holding you back because they're holding a lot of people back. You might be one of those people. I know that I certainly am. Not all of these three things that are quote unquote holding you back will apply to you. Just one might apply to you. None might apply to you. And by the end of the episode, you'll say, well, none of those really applied to me. Emily obviously was not talking directly about me, but I still really enjoyed the sound of her voice. It was like lovely little reindeer bells, so it was totally worth it. I'm just kidding. But I really do hope that something lands for you from this episode. And if this is your first time listening, disclaimer, I am in a little bit of a silly mood today, so I pre-apologize for any of that silliness. You can pretty much come to expect that on this podcast. And I would also encourage you to check out some past episodes once you finish this one, so you can really sort of like get the lay of the land here on the Content with Character podcast. And of course, I really do hope that you will stick around with us, with me, with this show in the new year after hearing today's episode. All right, if we have not met yet or have not been properly introduced, I am Emily Aborn. I'm a content copywriter, podcaster, speaker, wife, auntie, sister, daughter, Dogmom to Mr. Clyde. And let's see, fun fact for today, during the winter months, I like reading, writing, walking around my house with a blanket tied around my waist like a skirt. Oh, and also doing puzzles on my ever so slightly too narrow dining room table. My husband, who you get to hear about from time to time on this podcast, is like part lumberjack and part home painter. And he recently restored the top of our dining room table from a pool room and like it refinished it to be absolutely stunning. The table is beautiful. I do, however, tend to find myself dropping curse words while doing puzzles at the table because the puzzle pieces keep dropping off the edge. It's very frustrating. Anyway, that's the most first world problem I've ever heard of, if I do say so myself. So speaking of problems, let's get into yours. Today we're going to talk about, as I said, the three things holding you back in content creation. And those three things, are you ready? Perfectionism, time management and organization, and lack of inspiration and ideas. Now, do not worry because we're not going to stay on a sad note today. I'm going to leave you with some ways to actually overcome the things holding you back, right? Like how we can actually start to come through these little conundrums when it comes to your content creation so that they can stop being problems and start instead being possibilities with our content creation, with our marketing, with our visibility. It's going to be fun. Almost as fun as moving that elf on your shelf around a million times, which I bet some of you parents listening are so happy that you are done with for the year. Okay, Onward we go. One more disclaimer. I like to just say this often. I am right over here alongside you. Like, I am practicing what I preach. I'm implementing what I share. And I'm going through a lot of the same things that you experience as I build my own business, as I increase my own visibility, as I market myself, right? So I'm always looking to improve how I'm sharing, what I'm doing in my business, because I want to help more people. And so as I share these 3 things holding us back, a lot of them I can relate to, okay? And I want to share, when it does relate to me, some of the ways that I might struggle with it personally, so that you can realize that we're all normal. It is normal to be feeling this way. And at the same time, we can do something about it to help ourselves, to keep that momentum, keep moving forward. All right, so let's get into the 3 things holding you back. And we're going to start with perfectionism. I want to say that perfect doesn't exist. But unfortunately, I am married. My husband is an Enneagram 5, and he has actually informed me of many things in which perfect does exist. For example, loading a dishwasher. Did you know that there is a perfect way to load a dishwasher? I'm also looking at you, Enneagram 1s, and okay, pretty much all of us have this idea of perfectionism as it relates to something or another in our lives. But when it comes to content, when it comes to creativity, when it comes to marketing, visibility, what you say, how you say it, dealing with other human beings, I hate to break it to us all, but there really is no perfect. There's maybe your standards or your idea of what is perfect, what you think is perfect, but there really is no 100% perfect. And I know this is old news. Like, we've heard all this before. But yet, we still find ourselves in this cycle of holding ourselves back. Because here's what we do. We think that there's some sort of perfect, or we have this idea of perfect. And so we overthink, we over-edit, we edit again, we refine again, and we wait until the conditions are just so to act. Now, I got to go find this post from my man, Monty Woodward, because it's going to help us it's going to help to talk us out of this. So hold that thought. Okay, here we go. Now, I will include a link to this post that he posted on Instagram in the show notes for you too. Pretty much all the links you can guarantee are always in the show notes, okay? Always check the show notes for the links. But here's what Monty Woodward, he's a content creator on Instagram. Here's what he has to say about letting perfectionism hold you back. You're editing in Canva. They're posting. You're second-guessing yourself. They're posting. You keep changing your outfit. They're posting. Your audience does not need you to be perfect. They need you to be present. Whew. I think we can all just sit with that one for a moment. My work here is done. No, just kidding. Also, let me ask you this. When was the last time you wanted somebody else to be perfect? Like, personally, I just find that an annoying human trait. Like, no thank you. I do not want a perfect human being. That's obnoxious. Your people want you to be you. They want you to be present, attentive, real. And probably, if I had to venture to say, I think it's 2024 and people want you to be less perfect than they have ever wanted you to be before. So let's let go of holding ourselves back by thinking that it needs to be perfect in order to be published. Perfect is a stop sign. That's how I like to think of it. Perfect is a stop sign. Publish, post, send, those are green lights. Now, look, this one holds me back too. Okay, now mine, I have a very special flavor of perfectionism. Mine is a retroactive perfectionism where I put something out there or I say something and then I overthink, I second guess, I sit there and stew about it. And some cases I decide it wasn't as perfect as it should be and I pull it back. I pull back on it. Now, I also have a tendency to wait until like a said time or a said date or, a fresh notebook page, a said second to put something out there because I think in my little defunct head over here, I think that there is some sort of perfect that this perfect moment, right? That's going to come and I'm going to know when to put it out there. Now, I get it. It is very vulnerable to put our work, to put ourselves out into the ether, especially when people are looking at us. And then they're going to look a little closer maybe and discover that we are potentially not perfect ourselves. So here's some tips on how to get through this feeling, that feeling of like, it's so cringy and uncomfortable. Number one, decide that you're ready. Like, be like, okay, I'm actually ready to stop letting perfectionism hold me back. That is step one. And then you kind of have to build that muscle of taking one little imperfect action by one little imperfect action, one little typo by one little typo. I don't actually mean typos, but really just take one little step after one little step. Now, I'm giving this an honest try in my own business too. And this is probably something that I'll share more about in the new year as I kind of experiment with some things and get some things underway that are going to be imperfect because I'm trying something new. I'm posting or publishing in a new way. And I also want to remind us of this. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. You're never going to be perfect, but the more you do it, the better you're going to get. So you have to keep taking those small steps every single day. I'm just going to say every single day for the purpose of this exercise, but keep taking those small steps, one little imperfect action by one little imperfect action. I am often found saying the only way through is through. And I hate to say it, but when it comes to this, that is true. Okay, let's move on to the second thing that could be holding you back. And that is time management holding you back? Or maybe a lack of organization. Now, this goes hand in hand with being too committed. Overly committed. It can be hard to find time to do lots of things in our business. And if you feel overcommitted, I would ask you to do a couple things. First of all, check out my episode, 4 questions to ask before taking on a project. And you can do that retroactively too. So you can do 4 questions to look at a project that you have on your plate. Or my second episode on this is Stop Throwing Spaghetti at the Wall. That was 2 weeks ago. Basically, it helps you to ask yourself, does actually all of this need to be there? Is it stuff that is really important to me? Is it stuff that's really important to my business, to my life? Is it things that I want to be known for? Is it things that I want to be referred for? And here's another one for some of you. Does it all have to be done by me, or can I delegate some of it? So if you struggle to manage time, I would actually really love to talk about this because I do have a lot of tips and tools, especially as it relates to setting aside time for content creation, consistent content creation, and not making it overly complicated, not making it overly time consuming in the first place. Because I think that you can bump up against too is thinking something is going to take you a long time or underestimating your time, right? So some things you can let go of, you can look at and say, I am overcommitted. I do not actually need to be doing this. And some of that time will be freed up once you get rid of those things. Some of your time will also be freed up once you get rid of everything needing to be perfect. So there you go. 2 things, 2 birds, 1 stone. One simple, tiny little tip for you in time management and organization is to create your content at the same time every single time that you do it. So let's say you want to post on Instagram every single day. I would recommend that you do it at the same time every day so that you know you can stick to the plan, so that you can stay consistent with it. And don't give yourself any outs on that. If you want to do a weekly podcast, do it the same time each week, get your butt in the seat. If you need to, put an appointment in your calendar, block out that time, and then uphold that. Keep that appointment to yourself. But please, let's talk one-to-one if time management or overcommitment is your issue, because I know I can help you manage time more effectively when it comes to content creation, even amidst your busy schedule and your responsibilities. And I want to leave you with something to consider as it relates to being overcommitted or managing your time. My friend Christina sent me this quote a couple weeks ago. When considering your commitments and what you do with your time, are you building a castle or are you building a prison? Whew, I loved it. So good. So let's think about that, because I don't want you over there building a prison when we could be building you a castle of content. One last thing on this topic. I highly recommend my friend Lisa Zarotny's recent Positively Living podcast episode on 4 types of planning / organization. She and her guest, Kylie Oda, help you discover your style around planning and organization, and they give you tips to work with your natural tendency. It was a beautiful conversation. Highly, highly recommend. That link will also be in the show notes, where all links are always found. Okay, number 3 is a lack of inspiration or idea block holding you back. Now, I have many, many thoughts on this. So many thoughts, in fact, that I did an entire episode on this very topic with 11 ways to spark your creativity. And as always, the link will be in the show notes. But for those in business a long time, maybe you feel like you are just plumb tuckered out, you're out of ideas, you struggle to generate fresh and engaging content, and I would ask you this: if you are totally spent, if you are completely out of ideas, it might be time to get really honest with yourself and see if you're still excited about the specific things that you're doing and creating in your business. If you have nothing new left, like if there's nothing else, ask yourself if you're still into it. Now, let's say the answer is yes. You're like, I am still into this. It is still the right path. I just can't come up with any ideas. 3 things. Again, let's please talk, because I know that I can help you go from trickling faucet to firehouse of ideas in no time. But number 2, let's look at the past. Let's look at what has lit you up to talk about, to write about, to create around in the past. Can you go back into the archives and bring new life to what you might actually consider an old idea or something that went really, really well engagement-wise, or you got really, really good feedback on? Can you bring it back to life? Now, remember, not everyone read it that first time. Not everyone listened to it that first time. Not everyone saw it that first time. And so for a lot of people, it might be a completely new idea. And it's not like people are sitting there like remembering every single thing that you post or say. Anyway, so another thing to remember is that now new people are probably in your world. So for a lot of people, it's going to be their first time ever encountering you. So give yourself that kind of like boost, right? Like go in there, find something that you already know was really, really exciting, really, really well received, and bring it back to life. And then thirdly on this, I would also encourage you to go dig around a little bit on your website, because I know if I was doing this for you, I can guarantee you I could find you about a month's worth of ideas right on your website. Now, so much great messaging, so much great content. We put it on our website and we just leave it there. But what happens is people are not reading every single word on our websites, right? They're not like diving into every single article we've ever posted. So you can get it right from there and bring that back to life, from your homepage to your about page to your products and services. Okay, now I got to hold myself back, because I'm about to go to your website and go pull some things for you. I mean, watch out, I mean it. But here's an idea. What if you go, when you're done with this episode, go check out your website and be like, you know what? That really is a nice little piece on my about section, and I've never shared it on social media before. Grab that and boom, you have an idea right there. And one thing I know, and I'm going to get into this in a minute, is ideas beget more ideas. So some other little like sort of prompts that I thought of for you just to kind of like get the creativity going. Here are some. So let me ask you this. What would you say to your people right now if you were to tell them the truth? I love that question. What would you say to your people right now if you just told them the truth? What is on your mind? What is on your heart? What would you say if you told people just how much they mean to you? What would you say if you shared with people how much your business means to you? What if you told people how much you care and want to help them? So those are just some like little prompts to get you reinvigorated, excited again, and get started. And one little last thing on inspiration and ideas. Sometimes it's not a lack of inspiration or ideas. You know what it is? It's procrastination, as in not sitting down and starting, not sitting down and doing it, not putting a pen to paper, just not getting started in the first place. I find, and I think that you will discover this too, ideas beget more ideas. Motivation and inspiration begets more motivation and inspiration. Content begets more content. Excitement begets more excitement. You get the idea. So let's look at the 3 things again and ask ourselves, what is holding us back in content creation, in marketing, and in visibility for our businesses? Perfectionism, time management and organization, lack of inspiration or ideas. Let me know. Do you relate to any of these? And cue the Emily pep talk, and then I will let you go. I don't know about you, but there is enough in this world holding me back that is outside of me in regards to building my business, in regards to marketing, okay? There's an algorithm that's hard to contend with. There's people's short attention spans. There's competition who's louder, flasher, brighter, better with their iPhone camera than me. I do not need to be adding to that by holding myself back anymore. And you know what? You don't either. We also are not doing people any favors. The people who need and want to be working with us, the people who we could be helping for the messages we need to share and the things that we need to create and express. So, are you with me? Let's not hold ourselves back anymore. Let's let 2024 or whatever year you're heading into, let's let this be our year. The year that we show up and we be ourselves and we stop holding ourselves back. Whew. I got the chills just thinking about this. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, well, Emily, how do I really go about doing that? I mean, this podcast is great and everything, but how do I really go about doing this? Now, for you, I have two solutions. Number one, of course, yes, this podcast is full of helpful general advice, and my goal is always to make it apply to as many of you as possible. But I actually really love the opportunity to sit down with you personally and give you a more individualized conversation, individualized solutions and strategies. I love offering my strategy sessions to people, and I usually do it as a one-off service. I get to watch people have a lot of takeaways and get a lot of value, and also I get to watch people start implementing after our sessions, which is super, super exciting. So because I love doing it and if people love them, I thought it'd be fun to stand by your side with these strategy sessions for a whole year. I had a little fun and came up with my current strategy session sale, which actually, as you're listening to this, it only has 5 more days left. Well, actually, I don't even know when you're listening to this. So anyway, it ends on December 31st, 2023, and it is buy 4, get 1 free for my strategy sessions. So what that translates to is 5 opportunities that we get to sit down together one-to-one and brainstorm around your unique business, your specific struggles, and what's holding you back individually in marketing, visibility, and content creation. So if you want to check that out, get in on the special deal and see what we can accomplish together in those sessions. The link will be in the show notes, and I would love to connect with you. My other solution for you is to keep on joining me and listening to this podcast. I have some super fun stuff in store for the new year, and I plan to dive in more on using storytelling in our content, infusing more personality and more you in your content, like how you can go about finding that in some fun ways, and obviously so much more. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit follow, subscribe, whatever your podcast player tells you to do. And now I'm going to wrap up. And as I wrap up and tie this year officially in a bow, I just want to thank you so much for being a part of my 2023 and this podcast community. You are top of my celebrations list for the past year, and I really appreciate you for being here and for listening and supporting. And on that note, I will talk to you next year. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Content with Character. If you loved the episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, rate, review, and share it with someone else you know it could help. For more content and visibility tips, visit my blog at emilyaborn.com, and be sure to connect with me on Instagram at emilyaborn. I'd love to hear how this inspired you to take action.